Hola. In today's vlog, I spoke about breakfast, and this is a breakfast that when I have time to cook breakfast, I spoke about how I have no time to cook, quick breakfast, and oh, I have time to cook. And so this is one of these breakfasts. It's actually a Mexican breakfast, but we have it for dinner sometimes because we don't eat meat a lot. So I find other sources of protein like eggs. And so this breakfast is called Migas, which is a scramble of tortilla pieces and eggs. And I'm just going to go over a few things that I've gone over before, but I've gone over tools. And one of the tools that I use is foil paper that is non-stick. I use it for all kinds of stuff. When I use it for things that are not meat, I go ahead and fold it and put it in the freezer and then reuse it later. So anyway, this is what I did, and for the sake of time, I'm going to go through some of the things that I already did. So what I did was, I do eat tortillas. When I was trying to lose weight, or in my weight losing part of my program, my serving of tortillas was 2 tortillas. Look behind the package. As long as they fall between 100 and 120 calories for 2 of them, and that they have fiber, then it was okay, and I had 2 tortillas as a serving. So anyway, what I did was I took my tortillas. These are 12 tortillas. First I lined my cookie sheet, and this is from the restaurant store. I buy a lot of stuff at the restaurant store, cooking things, utensils also, and dishes. Anyway, I lined my cookie sheet with the foil, obviously the non-stick side up, and then I cut up my tortillas into little squares. I don't know if you can see the little squares, and then I spread them out, and I sprayed them with a little bit of Pam, just so that the top part can, doesn't dry out and it gets crispy. And then I sprinkled a little bit of salt on the tortillas, because traditionally what we do is, for migas, we fry these in oil first, not in like a vat of oil, just with oil so they don't stick. And so I'm eliminating that part of it. So and I love migas, and I tried to do them different ways, and this is finally the one that worked, that still tasted like I was eating migas. So anyway, I put them in the oven for 450 degrees for 20 minutes. So for 450 for 20 minutes, and I didn't turn them or anything. After I put the Pam, I kind of went like this, and then I spread them out as evenly at one layer as you can. And these are 12 tortillas. So anyway, you can hear they're crispy now. Now you might say, well, why don't you just use tortilla chips? It doesn't come out the same. I tried it. So anyway, toast your tortilla chips in the oven for 20 minutes at 450. And then the next thing I do is, I always, well, for this recipe I use a dozen eggs. Now remember, in my fried rice recipe, again, I use 4 eggs, and then the rest of the dozen are the whites only. So that's what this is. And my pan has been heating, and I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of oil, and then I cut up some onions. I had a bunch of one bunch of green onions, but you can, whatever onions you have, a third of a cup, or half a cup, or if you don't want onions, then that's fine. So I just like to fry the onions a little bit. Just a little bit, really. And you just want to get, I like the taste of not so cooked onions, but so depending on the taste of your family. So now I have, you can smell, these cook really fast because they're the green onions. And the oil is spread out on the pan. This pan is a paella pan, but I use it for all kinds of stuff. And then I'm going to put my eggs in. And because they're eggs, they cook quickly. And I have the 4 eggs. I go ahead and break those up. And I go ahead and start scrambling them. Now again, traditionally we would fry the tortillas in the oil. And then once they got crispy, then we added the eggs. This, we're kind of doing it the opposite way. I'm cooking the eggs, not all the way, just maybe, I don't know, 2/3 of the way. Just so that you know that most of the liquid has been absorbed. Because you want the tortilla to stick to the egg. So you cooked the egg it's not completely cooked, there's still some liquid there. And then you just pick up, obviously your tortillas are going to be just out of the oven. And then you just put them over your eggs. I use my hands a lot. And then you see, I want the most authentic as possible. So you want your tortillas to stick to your eggs, or the eggs to stick to the tortillas. And that's what's happening here. Some families call these chilaquiles, but we call them migas. Migas is Spanish for crumbs. The eggs are almost cooked. And you want to distribute them. This is one of my family loves migas. It's quick. It's inexpensive, which really your goal is not to be cheap with what you're feeding your family. You want it to be nutritious, but it's an economical dish. And then I have some tomato sauce here. This is a regular Ziploc container, but I only want enough to give the migas an orangey color, a light reddish color. If you don't have tomato, this is tomato sauce. I don't know if I mentioned. If you don't have tomato sauce, don't tell my grandmother I said so, but you can use ketchup. But tomato sauce is the traditional. Now the real old-fashioned, they go ahead and chop up some tomatoes and put it in there, and jalapenos, and I mean you can add. And then some people put cheese on top. I don't do that, just because I don't like that particular combination with the cheese in it. Let me go ahead and turn this off. And that's it. And you have a whole now what do you usually serve with this? Well, you can serve refried beans, and you just added more protein, refried beans on the side. Or you can do a banana milkshake, bananas, milk, and sugar, vanilla, just to give it more